When I look at this Bitcoin chart, I see a drop to come. I am positioned in short trades and looking for further downsides. And now I ask you, when you look at this very same chart, we're all looking at the same information here. What do you see? Are you super bullish on Bitcoin, positioned for longs, big pumps, new all-time highs to come? You might be thinking, well, even the United States of America, they're building Bitcoin reserves. Everything is positioned so bullishly. How on earth can I be saying in this video that I am more bearish, I'm looking for drops, I'm in short trades? Well, I will be explaining everything to you in this very video. I ask one major thing, and that is that you listen closely, carefully, okay, and patiently. So you could say there was three things, but overall, yeah, I really want you to pay very close attention to what I'm saying. I'm not saying take a short right now, neither am I saying taking a long, of course, but you know, the information that I'll be presenting to you in this video is very professional, thought through, coming from you know, an educated place of the charts. So I will be sharing with you my knowledge, my insights, how I come to the opinions that I have on Bitcoin. And where I could be wrong, right? So I understand there will be some sign of strength eventually. And, you know, that's not something I would ignore. I would react to such key information if and when it comes. But until that's happened, you know, I am seeing the weakness on this chart, and I am positioned right now for lower prices. Now, we are at an extremely pivotal area, which, you know, I'm going to be explaining all in this video. I think you're going to absolutely love it. I think you're going to learn a lot, and we're going to have a good time. Of course, some people are not going to like this video. You know, sometimes when I do these bearish videos, they're not so well received, but hey, it is what it is. I'm going to be going through that for you today, and I feel it's important. You know, even if you are one of these super bulls, you hate the people that short, I'm going to challenge you in this video to just have an open perspective. You know, don't straight away just, you know, start on all the hate comments down below, but really listen carefully. And even if you are in total disagreement with my viewpoint, you know, understand that this is coming from an educated place. I've been trading over a decade. I've been very successful in my trading. So if that's anything to take away, well, I've made the millions on this market. So you might think, well, this guy probably knows what he's talking about. Does it mean I'm 100% correct? No, but I do make very well-informed decisions. And that's just what I want to share with you, you know, how I make these informed decisions and, you know, passing along to you the knowledge and insights that I have on this very market. So let's come back over to the Bitcoin chart. Let's have a good one. And I'm going to be focusing primarily on the price action from the end of 2018, which was our bear market low, to current price action here in 2025. Why? Well, I want to take a little bit of a look at Elliot waves, and the prior price action to this was, of course, our $20,000 high, our descending triangle ending in the drop to the downside, which you'll know if you were following me in 2018. We traded very well, but just to show you what this whole perspective looks like, we obviously had the overall wave 1, 2, and that was the 2018 descending triangle bear market and continuation to the upside. And we're going to be focused on this main 4 to 5 during this video when we take a look at some Elliot waves, but that's not going to be the whole focus. I want to start off on actually the more of a lower term time frame with you all here. So let's come down to like the 4-hour chart. And, you know, actually, let's take a step back, just reviewing this on the monthly perspective. First of all, you know, this is where some people will get confused. How can this guy be bearish? How on earth can he be bearish? High, right? Higher low, higher highs up here, overall into a higher low, overall into higher highs. That is monthly bullish market structure. Let's come down to the weekly perspective. What are you going to be saying to me, Daniel? How on earth are you bearish down here? We went low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Well, this is still a higher low on a weekly perspective. How are you bearish down here? Okay, well, let's keep on going. Let's come down now from the weekly perspective down to a daily perspective. What do we have on the daily perspective? We have now started to breach previous lows of the range, which was put in at the middle of November. We've actually now printed a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, well, and potentially this new lower high, right? At this point, we're either going to try and breach back above $100,000, which then I'm going to be saying, you know, this for me is signs of strength, or we continue the local downtrend. And this is where time frame perspective is very important. You know, and I want to emphasize this as well, that on the high term timeframes, when I look at Bitcoin on a monthly chart, I agree. I am bullish, and I do believe also in the fundamentals of Bitcoin. It's undeniable that I am fundamentally a Bitcoin bull. I really believe in this asset, and I do believe in its long-term potential and future. I am long-term bullish on Bitcoin. But if you've been following me over the last few months, you know I sold everything. I sold all of my spot. I haven't, I have a tiny amount to trade, but in terms of my previous holdings, I sold it all. Every bit of crypto that I hold, from all my altcoins to all my Bitcoin, it all went. And I've been selling that, of course, over, not just all in one go, but slowly over a longer period of time. But all of my final cash outs, right, over around $100,000. So I'm at this point, I am Bitcoinless, which some people might be thinking, the guy's crazy. Why would he sell all his Bitcoin if he's long-term bullish? Well, it's because I'm very well experienced, let's just say, that trading these bull to bear markets. Okay, in 2018, if you're a follower on my channel, I was the biggest bear going, because I recognized in 2018, this is so bearish. We are breaking $6,000 for sure. We're going to be heading down to around, my targets were 5,000, 3,000, then 1,000. 1,000 never hit, and we bottomed out at my target around 3,000. But during the whole of 2018, every single rise I was shorting, from 17,000 all the way down to 7,000 any bounce. And eventually that played out, right? And now here we are in 2025. And, I've got a perspective that $100,000 is a major target. If we can get a drop down to, even $70,000, why would I not sell out for a 30% drop to the downside, right? That's just trading the ebb and flow of the market, right? I'm looking for longs down at the lows, shorts up at the highs. When it comes to spot, well, I think this time around I was, let's say more aggressive is not the right word, I don't think. I don't know the word that I'm looking for, I'll be honest with you, because selling all my spot there, it was, you could say, a little bit of a gamble, because if we had just completely gone up, without me, I would have, I wouldn't have been annoyed at my decision, because at the end of the day, I have Bitcoin from $3,000. If selling at $100,000 is a bad decision, I don't think we share the same definition of bad decisions. So I would have not have been annoyed if it had continued up, but hey, I would have been in a position where, hey, I'm missing out on that move, and that would have been a little bit sad, I suppose. But it would have still been okay. I'm not going to be too affected, because I know at some point a pullback would have come. I don't think even if we had continued up and up from here, we'd never see below $100,000 again. So, I felt I was in a good, comfortable position anyway, selling out where I did. But anyway, I just wanted to say that long term, I am bullish on Bitcoin. But on the local term time frame here, I believe we're seeing several signs of weakness. So let's come down to the 4-hour chart, and it starts to become a lot more clear. What we're going to say, first of all, is the distribution range. And so this is what I showed you a little bit on a live stream. And this for me is our major distribution range that we're looking at here. And one, let's say the most significant factor of this distribution range is the series of lower highs. So while Bitcoin is unable to breach these lower highs, we have now entered a period of lower highs and lower lows. So we're downtrending, and we are at a point of, this is the thing, right? We're at significant, crucial, big, important support. Do I think that is a big support in terms of confluence? No. Do I think it is a crucial support? Yes. Because if this is lost, it is bear market on, baby. So until it's lost, though, this is where bulls have a lot of, let's still say, hope left, because they haven't seen yet that major sign of weakness. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the CME gap. So the CME gap just absolutely crucial. When you come over to your futures market, you know what I'm on about here. So our big, important CME gap, this gap got partially filled. For me, the bull market is still on while this remains intact. Closing this, for me, is a big sign of weakness. And this is why I can't get too ahead of myself. I actually longed Bitcoin on Friday, the 28th of February, as we come down for a partial fill. For me, that was a long trigger. as we saw the sign of strength back above and we got that partial fill. I knew people are waiting for the gap fill and it lined up for a good long. So that's also something you can take away from this video. I do long Bitcoin. I buy Bitcoin. I'm not going to get distracted by that alert right now. But anyway, you know, I'm not totally against Bitcoin. I'll slowly buy into spot, right, on these type of drops. I recognize that these are nice areas of support and crucial areas of support at that. So yeah, for me, as Bitcoin came down there, you know, I bought a little bit back and I'm taking long trades. I recognize the opportunity. I recognize the importance of that level. So please don't forget about that CME gap. It still hasn't closed. So, you know, bulls still have the hope there, let's say, that this bull market can continue, but they need to start to show some strength. And what do we mean by strength? Let's first define that. Well, first of all, and the easiest way to define this strength is actually going to be by changing this lower high structure. So there are two main zones where we could say this lower high structure is changed. That would be across above our last major high. And the way we look at this is major high to major low. This is our last bit of the downtrend, right? We went from $100,000 basically all the way down to $78,000. And so this high here is not going to change market structure because this is now internal price action from this high to this low. This is all internal, right? We could even say that Bitcoin right now may be forming a bit of a triangle, something along the lines of a triangle. And so if this is forming a symmetrical triangle right now, what does that mean? Well, it means it's below the last major high and above the last major low. So to change market structure, we need to take out some of these highs, right? And that is from here quite a way away. So, you know, 15%. So we're looking for a relatively large increase in price before Bitcoin can show any strength. But you know, that would be a major turning point where I would, you know, change my bias. You know, I would have to say Bitcoin now has shown strength. I'm not going to be, you know, denying that then it's very likely to see new all-time highs. But while we remain within the downtrend locally on the daily, while we remain unable to show any signs of strength, and this market structure claim is just one of many different signs of strength that we can see. So that don't think that's the only way you can see strength in the market, but that's the easiest way, and that's why I'm referring to it in this video. And so yeah, a reclaim of $100,000 for me, absolutely really good sign of strength, especially if it's from the low that we put in on the 28th of February. That then shows the partial fill of the CME gap, a reclaim of the market structure, and I would have to say, wow, yeah, Bitcoin here is strong. I am looking for new all-time highs. I might be in a position where I don't have any leveraged longs from the lows. And that's just part of the game. I would have to be in that position. And, you know, I'm comfortable to be in that position. I would have to look for a long higher up, but I would still wait for a, you know, I would happily see that strength and then, you know, react from that strength. You know, so I wouldn't miss a move then if we went from 100,000 to 130,000. I would look to get involved on that, you know, long trades. But right now I see the further downside weakness, thus I'm not getting so aggressive on those longs. And I'm not in a long right now on Bitcoin. That long from the 28th of February, I've closed for profits. Okay, that's trade that for me is closed. And I did make good profits on that trade. So, you know, I'm happy with that. And we're now below the place that I've closed out. So, you know, all is good in that regards. But, you know, with that CME gap importance, then let's take a look at some, you know, local levels. So for this, we'll come down on a 1 hour chart. You can see the liquidity that we have from, this is from the 7th of March. So Friday, the 7th of March. This wick to the downside, you know, let's be honest, I'm very confident that that gets filled. You know, so this is the thing, like, why would you be longing 86,000 if you think at least you're going to be seeing 84,000? In my perspective, that just doesn't make sense. And not only that, you can clearly see the downwards move that we've had on the Saturday. So, you know, if you watch my live stream that I done on Friday, you know, the opinion on Bitcoin especially after that summit was we're going to drop in price. Why on earth would you took any longs Friday night, Saturday, Sunday morning when you're seeing that price action? And rightly so, Bitcoin is dropping Sunday afternoon as we speak. And that's just what's called high probability. The highest probability at that point was a drop. Well, Bitcoin's following that. Why would you long 86,000 if you're going to see 84 or lower? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Thus, you should, you know, it's very easy. You could say, well, it's very easy for you to say that now, Dan, your price has dropped. But I was saying that on Friday, right? If you watched my live stream. So it's not hindsight. I'm repeating what I said prior to the drop. And anyway, I digress. And so for me, locally, yeah, is there some long opportunities where I can have a more medium-term time frame bearish bias? And you might think, well, Daniel, are you going to be taking any longs? Are you looking or interested in any longs? The answer is yes. Even though I am bearish on the more medium-term time frame, I do believe we can get a big drop. I'm still going to be taking some long trades. Why? Because I can be wrong. How about that? Somebody that can admit that. You know, I know as a trader, I've got a good win rate. I win more trades than I lose, but I can be wrong, especially on such a, such a contrarian opinion such as being bearish on Bitcoin. I know it's more bullish on the higher term time frame. So I know I have to be a bit more careful, let's say, especially with what I share here on YouTube of that bias. And I'm not going to be, let's say we just pump up straight from here, then I would be in a position where I have no leverage longs. But if I put myself in a position, let's say that we come down, we hit some support, we then start to see some strength, and I have a long position then from 82,000, well, then I have a long trade for if we get a massive bump. It's just that I'm in a position now where I have no leverage longs open. If we pump straight away from here, then I miss out. And again, I'm comfortable with that. I am not worried or anxious or scared about that happening. I would own that, and I would look for a trade higher up. Would it be a little bit unfortunate? Yes, but that's not going to psychologically affect my trading into the future. I'm still going to wait patiently for good trades. But right now I do believe I can get a better lower entry, and again that on the medium term time frame, a much bigger drop. But on the the more the local term time frame here, I recognize there are still a few aggressive opportunities left. What I would say here is the confluence very low, not optimal. These are not like what I would call great trade setups. They are low confluence, low opportunity, low probability trades. The only way you can get involved in such trades is with lower term time frame setups. So I've talked about this in many videos, but you wait for a lower term time frame entry trigger, such as a swing failure pattern, such as a failed auction, such as a retest with some bullish divergences, an aggressive long trade entry off of a level when you line up with the order flow. So this is where the order flow is super helpful on the lower term time frames. When you're looking for such trade entries, you're going to be looking at your trade counts, time, HL, high and low of the candles. So you're going to be taking into account this information, along, of course, with your delta open interest to get those aggressive long trade entries. But that is very much advanced order flow scalp trading. Out of the scope of this video, and this is 1 minute charting. We're focusing not on that on this video. So anyway, yeah. Of course, there are a few opportunities here. I don't want to dive too deep into them because I do believe, first of all, that they are low opportunity. I don't think any of these are amazing levels. And that's quite my most honest reason there, to be honest with you. I think we got bigger supports down at, between, I think, 75,000, 65,000, and above us, up at 96,000. In this zone, I don't think you have this kind of, you look at that and you think to yourself, well, this is a wonderful opportunity. That's my opinion. I want to actually focus more on the medium higher term time frame. For that, I want to look at a bearish Elliot wave count with you all. And I think this is where it's going to be a little eye-opening. Of course, I want to say this as a trader and somebody that does Elliot wave trading. You always have to have a bullish and a bearish count. I'm going to be sharing with you in this video the bearish count. If you want to see my bullish count, I will be doing that tomorrow in a Champions live stream. I'll, of course, also expand upon this bearish count a little bit more. We have a lot more time and, I can go more in depth. But if you want to see this bullish count, chartchampions.com, this is where we got all of our education. You can learn Elliot waves if you want to learn Elliot waves and everything else, the order flow, everything you need, chartchampions.com. Along with that education, you have the Discord community, trading updates, live trading streams, everything that you need, chartchampions.com. Back to this, I'll be covering in this video only the bearish opinion. But you can see this is essentially what we're going to be looking at. We put in, of course, this was our period of a larger wave 4, $20,000 high, sideways period, low of wave 4. And this is our final fifth wave to the upside. Undeniably here, you can see a very clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think you can all agree you can see a clear 5 waves within here of the final fifth. Okay, so wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within the final fifth wave, you need to see 5 waves. And look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got a larger 5-wave structure. And I remind you by going briefly back to the larger chart here. Within, from 2011, a larger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within a smaller 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with now the final bit of the puzzle, a final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That, my friends, is giving you the final impulse of the impulse of the impulse. That is bearish. That is looking for a large drop to the downside. A very large drop to the downside. Yeah. Let me tell you this. You might think this is so bullish. How can that happen? Bitcoin's super bullish. The institutions are getting involved. America themselves are looking to buy Bitcoin. You know, how can it drop when we've just heard about this strategic reserve when Michael Saylor's buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin? How can it drop? Well, Michael Saylor, I think, is an anomaly. Like he's the guy. He's just buying when because you know. I think I'm not going to go into that. But this guy kind of just doesn't care. But you think people that actually care, or people that are more strategic minded when it comes to their trading, are going to be thinking, we want to build a massive Bitcoin reserve. So they have the means to push price down, and I really believe that. Are they going to want to buy $100,000, or are they going to want to? And I don't talk about manipulation. I don't believe manipulation is a part of this market, even though I'm saying, yeah, I believe bigger hands can push price down. That, in my opinion, is not manipulation. That's just how trading works. You know, the big whales, they can not manipulate price, but if they see good areas to sell, they're going to sell, right? And I want to explain this in a way that people don't think, well, the market maker, the whales, the institutions, the government, they're manipulating the price. That's a story that people love to push on. I do not believe price is ever manipulated. What I believe is smart money can affect price in a way that then they start the big wave and the smaller waves, they ripple down. You know, people start to see the bigger hands, the bigger players, that smart money, and then follow along with their decisions. So it's like the smart money, they're putting the initial wave, and then the smaller, medium, average traders are what caused that then to take a bigger effect. So for me, there's no manipulation, even if there is this one entity, which I don't believe, but let's just say there's this one entity that can control the price. That for me, still, I wouldn't class it as manipulation if, these people are trading under a mindset of, okay, we're at resistance, we're going to be taking the shorts. Yeah, if that person has enough money to move the market, perfect. Like, that's what the market should be doing. Okay, so yeah, again, that's a lot more of a complex subject, and I could go into that in a lot more detail if people want it, but getting out of the scope of this video, sometimes I get a bit distracted. But anyway, we're seeing here the final fit of the fit of the fit. And that leads us for a bigger drop to the downside. And undeniably, I think you can all see there a lovely fifth wave. The way that you got that expansion in the wave 3 there, look at that up to the 161. I mean, if you ever want to see something that's perfect, just look at this Elliot wave count. Because the way that you went from 1 ABC, that's a lovely flat, expanded flat, where you go to the low of A, you take out the high of the start of A, you come back down below for the C there. It's just such a perfect ABC expanded flat. And then what you had off the back of that was my favorite bit of price action in the world. And it was the way that you went from the top of that one. So I will take it again just so you can see, it's very important that you have the accuracy here from the low back down in November 2022 to the high here, which is, in my opinion, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the end of the wave 1. And again, this is not new. This is what I've been doing now for years. This is the same Elliot wave count, if you've been a member, that I've been using. Up to the top of the wave 1, down to the 2. And just look at this respect on how perfect it was to the dollar. First of all, you come into the 1-to-1, you got an initial reaction. But if you know Elliott waves, the highest probability of wave 3 is a 1618. So you get the reaction at the 1-to-1, lovely, good to see. And look at that, 1618, bam, on at that time was the all-time high. And that gave us downwards movement for the next nearly 6 months, right? So from March, well, pretty much to November, to be fair, actually, we were in this downtrending piece before the pump again happening in November of last year. But that was crucial. If you see that really was crucial. And it just goes to show the how this is a really valid count, and that gave us the 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we've moved up for our final fifth. Again, I do have an alternate count where I believe that we can still be in a fifth wave extension, and this is simply going to be looking at a 1, 2 of the fifth. I am aware of that, and that's why before we see the sign of weakness, which invalidates the 1, 2, then of course I still have that bullish count, which I would even say is more likely right now. Okay, but we're going through the bearish count in this video. And so this is just putting you in this perspective and understanding that, when this wave ends, even if we get the extension in the fifth and we move up more, we are reaching the end of a really large cycle here. So that's just something to be aware of, I suppose. So when you then take into consideration this larger Elliott wave count of bearishness, along with the distribution that we have here, when we zoom in, you can understand how there is some pretty big weakness signs going on this chart right now. On the medium-term time frame, weak daily downtrends. On the local term time frame, I believe weakness and lower prices are going to be coming next. Okay, I'm really, I don't think we don't take out $84,000 again. So locally, very locally, I'm expecting lower prices. Medium-term time frame, I see the weakness, thus that would lead us to lower prices. Higher-term time frame, coming to the fit of the fifth, that's also weakness, leading us to lower prices. You see, there's a lot of factors here. And now I end with the most important. Does that mean I'm going to take a short right now here and, here at 84,700? No. Why would I do that? That would be an awful trade. I'm all about good trading, high probabilities. What am I shorting off here, my friends? Absolutely nada, nothing. If I take a short here, I am just a bad trader. Why on earth would I short here? What's the game plan? Like, where am I wrong? Well, above $100,000. Locally, where's the target? Well, from the 7th of February low. Well, look at this, guys. I have a 0.03% risk-reward ratio. Awful trade. Even if we're targeting down to lower daily naked pointed controls, let's say, to the daily naked pointed control that we have here at 82,000. Again, awful trade. What are we doing here? We are just being stupid. 0.22 risk to reward rate. Awful. We cannot be trading this. So, am I bearish? Yes. Am I going to take a short trade now? No. Thankfully, I have short trades from pretty much the higher the move. I have short trades from $106,000. I'm in a very advantageous position. I managed to compound. Well, actually, it was not a compound. It was new short trades. But new short trades off of the anchored VWAP, and I took another nice short trade off of here, which was a weekly level at the time. So I have some very, very nice short trade entries that even if we pump tomorrow, they're profitable trades. I'm in a position, whatever happens next, they're profitable. But that's the main thing that you have to understand. I look for shorts when price rises. When price drops, I'm looking for longs. Even where I have this kind of bearish bias, let's say, I'm still going to look for longs on the drops. Okay? Because for me, this is, there we go. Look at this, taking out 84,000. Price loves to, I love to know what price is doing. And there we go, my friends. We took out that look. So, yeah, market doing what the market should be doing. Is there manipulation here? No. Is it someone pushing the price? No. This is the market doing what the market should be doing. I would have been more surprised if we had pumped from here and that would have not been taken out. That would have left me, whoa, that's confusing. But right now, price is dropping and price is doing what price should be doing. When you understand probabilities, it becomes a lot more easy. Let's just say that. So yeah, this video was to bring your attention to this higher term time frame, medium term time frame, even the local term time frame weakness. Why I am sat in short trades. Why I sold all of my crypto. I have well, that's a lie. I do have a little bit of crypto because I bought a little bit back. But basically, up against what I'm used to, I essentially have no crypto because very, very, very small percentage holdings. So, I am in a position where I am looking for lower. That's my preferred scenario. And don't get me wrong, I am a long-term Bitcoin bull. So I'd like to see decreases in price. Why? Because that's where you want to buy in, right? Just would you prefer to buy in at $100,000, or would you prefer to buy in at $60,000? Well, obviously, you want to buy $60,000, just as the U.S. government probably wants to buy in at lower prices, right? If you just think about that, who in their right mind wants to buy Bitcoin at $100,000? And that is why, no hindsight, I was calling for selling all my spot at those levels. I was opening shorts at these levels. A lot of people were confused, hating, angry, saying I would be incorrect, saying I made the wrong decision. And look at it now. It undeniably was the right decision. And I just want to wrap up this video by saying this. Let me just think about this. I want to say, I will say this to end. When you think about $100,000 and the importance of this, and then I'll give a final tip as well. So 2 tips to end. Why was this $100,000 so big of a resistance? Well, you have to think the majority of people in this market have been in the market for several years. Not many people are coming into the market up at the highs, right? And in terms of when you think about the whales of the market, we've been in the market for several years, at least, 2 years is pretty new to crypto, right? Most people, we're talking about several years in this market. These whales, and I can speak of the perspective of knowing about this. People that have bought crypto from, down here in the charts and lower, $100,000 is such a big level. I don't know anybody, and I know a lot of well-off people in crypto. I don't know anybody that was like, oh, $100,000, I'm not going to take any profit. Actually, that's a lie. I do know some, because I know some people that are like, I'm never selling Bitcoin. Fair enough, right? They've done very well. And we just have a different mindset. So I like to sell, if I can sell, let's say, 100 Bitcoin here, and I can buy back and buy with the same amount of USD value. I sold 100 Bitcoin, I can buy back 130 Bitcoin. Well, I made 30 Bitcoin, let's say. Whereas the guy that's holding Bitcoin, never selling, well, he had 100 Bitcoin back at the lows. He has 100 Bitcoin now. Whereas I've done that same strategy, and I went from 100 Bitcoin to 1,000 Bitcoin. So, everyone has their own opinions and thought processes. The guys that just buy and hold forever, well, they're not yet able to make more Bitcoin on drops, whereas I'm able to make profits on drops with shorting. I'm able to make more Bitcoin by buying back lower. But yeah, the $100,000 was such a big level because most sensible people, in my opinion, view that as just a massive take profit. $100,000 Bitcoin. I mean, come on, that's something to celebrate, something to pay yourself and reward yourself. And the second bit of the tips I would give you here is please don't become like overly bearish and like think of this as, oh, Daniel's saying Bitcoin's definitely going to drop. I've not said that at all in this video. I believe the probabilities of lower are high. But that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be taking any long trades on drops. That doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that it's even, that this is a guarantee. I think sometimes people think that I'm some sort of god or I know exactly what's happening. No, I'm not a god, of course. I would never, ever say that. That would be very bad. I'm just a normal guy. Like you watching this video, I'm the same as you. I have no insider information. I have no godlike abilities. Right? I'm just a guy that has truly dedicated himself to this market. As I like to say, I've put in my blood, sweat, and tears. I read the psychology and understanding of this market so well because I've made the mistakes. I've had the sleepless nights. I've had that sick feeling in my stomach. I'm such an idiot. I'm so bad. I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? If you've felt that, I tell you, I've felt that 10 times more because I've been in this a long time and I have had some very rough times in the market, right? I've really, I've gone through a lot of the emotions and, I've come out of it. And that's how I have this ability of reading the market because I really feel I know what 99.9% of the market are doing because I know how 9% of the market feel from the low traders that are trading, $10, the people that are having their sleepless nights up to the multi-million dollars, $100 million trade positions. Right? I understand both ends of those spectrums. And that is why I feel that I have such a good ability. And this is an ability, right? Everybody can learn. And that's the thing. I am no different than you. You are no different than me when it comes to our ability that we can have on these charts. I'm very open and sharing of what I know. I want you to be at my level. I don't want to be above everyone. I want to bring you up to where I have this understanding, I have this knowledge, I have these insights. That's why I'm so sharing. I'm so happily giving and helping people. You know, I don't need this to myself. I want to help you. I want to get it out there. And little by little, right? I cannot do this in a video, right? It's the course of years, right? Chart Champions now, what we've been going on 6 years on this YouTube, not even longer on the YouTube, on Twitter, right? I've been on Twitter, I think now, 14 years maybe I've been sharing stuff. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, so I've been sharing my knowledge for a long time on Twitter. More recently on YouTube. YouTube, I started the videos like about 6 years ago. But before that, you know, I've been on the Twitter on different trading forums. Like of course, my calling, I feel, has become. Oh yeah, I forgot I was showing my screen here. There you see that November 2011 on Twitter. But anyway, where I was going with this, you know, my calling, my God-given calling is to help people learn to trade, get better, increase their skills, abilities, and, you know, overall reach their financial goals. I've reached mine, and, you know, what better way to spend my time than helping others reach theirs? I'm happy to do this. I said the other day, I could be on a private island, relaxing, doing nothing with my life, but just taking it easy. You know, endless, you could say, opportunities and money to do whatever I want. But I'm here in the trenches. I'm here with you every day to help you. And I'm happy to do that. This is what I'm here for. So, you know, take advantage of that. Listen carefully. And yeah, let's crush these charts. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope it's been helpful. And if it has, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Would really appreciate that. Share this video out to some friends, to some family, and let them know about what we do at Chart Champions. You know, we are real traders. We've made real profits. You know, in this space, there's scammers after scammers after scammers. There's people out here teaching you that I've taught all of my methods. They've learned from me, but then they'll have no credit given to me. But most of these people haven't even made the millions. Whereas here, we're in a space, we've made the millions, we've made the profits, we're giving back. And, you know, I want to do that in a very humble, professional way. I hope you can see that. And I hope with that, you can be happy to share that. And we can reach as much people as possible, right? The more people we reach, the more people we can help. With that said, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you ever so much. If you want to see more from me, you know where to get it. Chartchampions.com. Tomorrow, I'll be doing that Champions live stream. I'll be going through some more Elliot waves, covering the bullish count, how we can see those more precise signs of strength, where I'll be looking for those very precise entries for my next longs and shorts. So yeah, that's what I'll be covering in the Champions live stream. So if you want that, you know where to get it. Other than that, yeah, you can be with Severin, Igor, and the rest of the community. We have a wonderful family-filled community over at Chart Champions. You can see all of us getting together and having a good time. With that said, CC Paul, I love you all. Thank you ever so much. And that is me now fully signing out. Cheers, everybody. Thank you, and goodbye. Hope you've enjoyed, and cheers.